Bournemouth's still in trouble, and then we've got other teams that maybe shouldn't be in relegation trouble. Who are? Should we? John, do you want to talk about Leeds first? I don't know.
I think Leeds had escaped relegation on the last day last season, so I wouldn't really put them in that group. I think the interesting teams in terms of the relegation battle are particularly Leicester and West Ham. Maybe Wolves, when you consider the strength of the Wolves squad, even though in the last couple of seasons they've probably been heading that way as well.
They were more because they were poor at the start of the season, because they've been decent under Lopetegui now. So I'd imagine the only reason they're that far down is because he didn't get a longer run at it, right?
They were bottom when he took over and almost cut adrift, I think, roughly.
Yeah, they've clearly changed around under him. And I think there's been a few teams, right, where, I mean, Villa were in the same boat for a little while. They looked like they were bombing out of the Premier League, and then they did a manager change and things sorted out. Everton, I suppose, in the same sort of boat. They've had pretty good performances under Sean Dyche. But yeah, Leicester and West Ham, I think, particularly stand out as two teams who have impressive squads relative to the level. But when you watch them play, just seem to be the most meh teams that you can see. It's almost like they're mid-tabling the relegation battle. They just, they're sort of like bumbling along, happy with what they're doing, and you're like, but you're a couple of points off the relegation zone, if not in it. And
Leicester's really difficult. I can't work out whether Rodgers is doing a good job or not. I can't figure it out, because we know what he can do in the past and where he's been, but he inherited a team that was really in the up. Like, so the teams he was linked to, Leicester had a great team. So Ndidi was phenomenal at the time. Who played in midfield? It was Ndidi, Tielemans, and Maddison. That was the midfield three he had at the time. And then up front, Vardy, when he was still playing all the time and still very, very good. Basically, what's happened now is, through lack of investment in players, because they didn't buy anyone for quite a long time, so they've ended up with a team where you've got, Iheanacho was starting up front a lot of the time and misses chances. He's a good player, though, I think. But the midfield, like, Ndidi is nowhere near as good as he was. Tielemans seems to have maybe not regressed, but just isn't playing well. Maybe that's a function of the team not doing very well as a whole. I think he's a team that he's good in a good team, but he maybe doesn't look very good in a bad team, which maybe all players are. But so they're missing that. The defence, I think, what they brought in, Harry Suter and Wout Fez. Fez is a half-decent player.
Yep.
Yeah, he got sent off at the weekend, didn't he? But
yeah, I didn't realise that.
He's got a bit of the old red cards in him.
Like the good play, like Johnny Evans was so important back in like Evans and Vardy, hugely important to them. Evans is getting older, as all humans do.
It does happen.
Yeah,
Harvey Barnes is getting older too.
I didn't see it coming.
He's a lovely player, though, Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, I think he's a fine player. I think. I think Harvey Barnes
is. You two should fight
fine
in your matching sweaters.
I know.
You didn't. Yeah,
I dressed up as Michael.
Indeed.
I'm sure we'll reference this in the intro.
I was just thinking. I've just reacted to that as if it's happened for the first time, which it has happened for the first time, but we haven't recorded the intro yet. So I've got to now pretend that was obviously a really funny joke.
Don't tell them what's in this. What's the idiom? How the soup's made.
How we bend time.
What you put in the soup. What's made.
I've never
in
had
the stew.
How sausages.
Oh, sausages. That's it. Yeah.
You got soup on the brain. Soup brain. Soup brain.
My brain is full of soup on Monday morning.
Last week you actually recorded the podcast backwards. I heard, like, literally.
It was tough. Learning,
we had to
learning English, like all of the words backwards.
Yeah. Makes sense. But at least you found your cafetiere.
Yeah. Can you tell I've had loads of coffee today?
I still haven't had any. What was I talking about?
We're talking about Leicester, but there's like a huge. We're still trying to find the guy who did that energy about Leicester, right? with Brendan Rodgers, because he sort of complains a lot about the squad.
He's wearing the hot dog suit.
Yeah, he's the guy in the hot dog suit. But like a lot, we can complain about the state of the squad, but like he has some sort of responsibility in that. I think there's obviously a lot of different factors at play with Leicester, not least the fact that their owner suffered quite a bit financially, I think, because of the pandemic. But at the same time, like, he had every chance of building a decent squad that could have weathered that storm. And it feels as though every season they bring in players who then don't really break through and haven't made that jump up. So,
but then what should you expect of Leicester? Because they won the league, then they had some Champions League money, and Leicester don't have the same like financial incomings. They don't have all the marketing and everything that other big clubs do. So naturally, they would probably have to regress towards being a sort of mid-table team, which is what they've basically done. Because when you look at where they are in the league, I mean, you go down from 12th to 20th. There are 5 points separating all those teams. They're all basically equally and equally fine. That they could win one game one week and then lose the next. It's the randomness of that sort of part of that league.
it is horrible being Southampton because you just know those teams are going to do something at some point. Will Crystal Palace do something at some point? Because they're like the meme, aren't they? Where people are prodding Crystal Palace, going, "Do something," because they're not doing anything. And I would imagine their position in the table sort of.
My friends have this joke that Palace never win and they're always 12th. They just never ever win in the Premier League.
Must
but
be
they stay
so
in the same
dull
position.
being a Palace fan.
Very few goals when they play at the moment.
They've got some lovely players. Lovely players. That's my favourite word of the day. Lovely.
Who do you like out of the Palace squad?
Did we have this conversation last time I was on the pod? Or I can't remember now.
We had it before the
Eze.
podcast started. Yeah.
But you weren't
Michael Elise.
You weren't in the room when we had that conversation. I don't think.
Okay. Michael
We had a
Elise.
long conversation about the players that we liked.
Ah.
But yeah, Michael Elise was on the list, so well done. Next. Come on. He's just, your mind has gone completely blank now of all
Patrick
Palace.
Vieira's the head coach, isn't he?
He doesn't play anymore yet.
Mark Gay, nice exciting centre back.
Yes,
Czech
indeed.
Decore, well spoken of.
Tyreek Mitchell's meant to be quite highly
Tyreek
rated.
Mitchell, yeah. Wilfried Zaha.
Wilfried
have you heard of him?
Zaha.
You a fan?
He's older than Mitrovic.
He's 30,
Iberieze,
Yeah, I said him.
yeah.
I forgot his first name, but I did that with Cabaye as well.
Odson Edouard.
I like him. No one cares though. So yeah, that's a relegation battle. So yeah, so Palace will be fine. That's what we
Well,
just said,
I'm not
wasn't
sure
it?
Palace will be fine. I think
okay.
so. Very little action goes on. I think, say listening to Palace fans, reading what people said in the Slack, is that there's very little movement in the midfield at Crystal Palace. People just stand still, and I can't remember. I looked into Vieira's last team he managed. Who was it? Nice, right? And I seem to remember them not being that bad.
Yeah.
They were quite good.
They were good at the start, and then they tailed off, which
Right.
is history repeating.
Well, there we go.
Let's just say that.
Palace's squad is fine, but there's lots of good teams in that bottom 8, basically. You see Everton have some good players. You see Leicester have some good players. But like Harvey Barnes is a good example. On his day, Harvey Barnes is a really good player, but you wouldn't put him in the Man United team. You wouldn't put him in the Liverpool team, I don't think. I don't think they'd
You
get
wouldn't
in.
steal a car.
If I could download Harvey Barnes, would I? What would I do with him?
He's fine. I think he's a lovely player.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to keep us on Crystal Palace a bit.
XL, expected lovely.
Yes, I think Palace are...
I mean, they're 3 points off. And this is the thing, right?
I think they'll be in trouble.
This is maybe a really banal thing to say, but whoever goes down this season is going to be whoever is in the bottom 3 at the end of the season.
I think we need to stop talking about this now.
My point being that, like, anything could happen, right?
It's true, John.
Any of these teams could go down, and
Over 90
it's almost
minutes.
impossible to say. But
then there's
It's
another
about who
one.
wants it more.
I think also we
definitely did that last time.
Clearly,
I
all of these
remember that.
teams have enough good players to get out of the relegation battle.
Including Leeds?
What you need to do. Throwing Leeds at me like that.
Well, they're in the relegation
They are
battle,
definitely.
Or are they
They
not?
definitely
Have you already
are
relegated them.
I mean, they are 19th right now, so they're definitely in a relegation battle. Whatever Jesse Marsh might like to tell you, but I think what we've seen is that a lot of these teams have enough players that if you change the manager, bring in a solid structure for your good players, and then rely on those good players to have moments, you can climb out of the morass. So we've already talked about Aston Villa in that situation. Everton seem to be doing it. Wolves have done it under Lopetegui pretty much, even though they're still there and thereabouts.
West Ham not doing it.
West Ham not doing it, and Leicester City not doing it, and that's what makes them so confusing, because it feels like they both have managers who people in the past have said these are good managers. They have squads that they probably have enough to be able to get out of this, and they're not doing it, and that's the big.
And the weird thing is that all those managers, right, elite level managers, they're all, Premier League level, all these managers, right? So you say that it's the elite. They'll all be setting up the team the way exactly they should be. They'll have analysts, they're reading the reports, they're getting the things set up, they're working out strengths and weaknesses of both them and their opponents. All the preparation is done, the training is done, they've got their squads, and then they'll do all the preparation that a manager should have. Some have more charisma than others, some will know how to motivate certain players, but there'll be other things going on in the sidelines. And then someone scores a rocket from 40 yards, and then Leeds win 1-0, and then suddenly Gracia's a brilliant manager because he's kept them up because some lad had a punt from 40 yards. Like, football's weird. And they judge people's entire careers based on things they have no control over.
Yeah. Villa stayed up because no one turned on the Hawkeye during Project Restart. And then what would that have all looked like? Who knows?
Leeds stayed up last season because Brentford had their Christmas party a couple of days before the last game of the season.
Well organised.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.